Welcome to our first NXT show of the year, and we have New Year's Evil, a TV special, and this was a really good show. We did really enjoy this show ourselves. There's a lot of really good matches, title changes, and a lot of good stuff that happened on this show. But what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I think overall it's a very solid show. I did have higher expectations, I will say, in terms of the matches that we did have on the card. It definitely felt like we have some type of banger to kick off the year at NXT, but I don't think we hit that mark just yet. But overall, still a good night. It felt like this was a night to kind of set up what this year's going to be about, and that's going to be a lot of opportunities for a lot of new people with a lot of call-ups potentially happening. And I think it sets up the year pretty well.
I feel like this kind of felt like the Raw from last night, where we expected a really big show, and we still got a decent show, but it didn't really meet those high expectations that we had for it. But we did kick this show off with Thea Hill making her entrance, but shortly after getting attacked by Blake Monroe, and the match just never happens basically, because a little bit later backstage we see Ava telling Blake Monroe that she is banned from NXT. So does that mean we're going to get a main roster call up? Does that mean I don't know what that means. Maybe we'll just see her in a couple of weeks and we'll forget about it. But yeah, Thea did choose to be a fighting champion and to hold an open challenge later on in the night, so we will talk about that a little bit later. But what are your thoughts of this whole kind of thing happen, especially after the title change that wasn't supposed to happen in the first place?
Yeah, it's definitely a very confusing situation on what they're kind of doing with this story, obviously, because like you mentioned, at the end of the day, Blake was supposed to still have this champion, but with Thea now being the champion, it looks like they might be changing the route of how they go on. And as for the ban, obviously, I don't know if we have full context of if it's a permanent ban from NXT period, or if it's just like you're banned for the rest of the night, go home, get away, we'll talk next week or something like that. So who knows how that will play out.
We did get a report from Sean Ross Sapp saying that Blake Monroe could potentially be getting called up soon, and then this happened, so it does lead me to believe that she will be on that main roster, likely by Royal Rumble potentially. But we're going to go on to our first match of the night, and we're going with Tatum Paxley versus Izzy Dane. Now, this is obviously a long feud that's been going on for a very long time at this point, for probably about 3 months, and it hasn't really disappointed. All the matches have been pretty good, but this was the match that paid it off. This match was definitely their best match of the feud. It definitely wasn't no classic 5-star match or anything of that nature, but it was really good nonetheless. But we do see Tatum started off with this really cool front flip where we see Izzy kind of draped over the ropes on the apron on the outside of the ring, and she does this front flip leg drop onto her that looked really nasty, hard hitting, really cool move from her. Unique offense from Tatum Paxley as usual, but Izzy Dane gets a lot of offense in through the commercial break, but Tatum Paxley comes back with a Spanish fly off the top rope, then a cemetery driver, and defeats Izzy Dane.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that Tatum Paxley did get this win. I kind of felt like we would kind of get the heel getting the victory of this feud. But yeah, Izzy kind of takes the L here. Don't know where she'll kind of go on. But yeah, Tatum Paxley getting the win here. I am glad, because it does feel like she should be back in that world title picture after the reaction she did get when she did get that surprise win. So yeah, hopefully we see her back in some type of title picture. And yeah, hopefully Izzy Dane can bounce back from it.
Yeah, I do feel like there probably is a better match with these two. They're both all really good. I do like both of these people, especially Tatum Paxley. She just has, as I mentioned earlier, some really unique offense, such as that leg drop I mentioned. Then being willing to do Spanish flies off the top rope. Like, she already got over with the crowd. There's a lot to love about Tatum Paxley. And we're going to go to our next match, and that is Kendall Gray versus JC Jane for the Women's World Champion. And yeah, we see this one, and this is just a lot of the same offense from Kendall Gray, and this isn't really a complaint from me, because all of the same offense is really nice. She does the switch around off the rope, and it looks really good. She does the under the leg swoop and then grabs the legs, pulls the outside. Really good stuff from Kendall. JC Jane does hit a really big knee to the face of Kendall Gray, and it was a really nasty one, made a lot of impact, loud noise. We do see Fatal Influence then get involved, but Ren Sinclair fights off Fallon Henley. Kendall fights off Laney, but then when JC went to go take out Ren, it does leave her open to a shades of gray from Kendall, but she does get blocked from Fallon Henley, and that does sort of lead to the end of the match, where we see JC Jane hit the rolling encore and pick up the win and retain the title, and the crowd definitely didn't like that.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that JC does end up retaining here. I definitely felt like this was the kind of crowning moment for Kendall Gray to kind of say, hey, look, well, we've seen the reactions you're getting. We see how much you're improving in such a short amount of time. Here you go. Let's see what we can do with it. But JC does end up retaining the belt here. I don't know what is next for JC, obviously, because it feels like at this point, we kind of ran through a lot of the roster. We would see later in a backstage segment that looks like Sol Ruka might be coming after her sometime soon, but who knows how that will play out with Zarya. Also, probably wanting to get some singles action with all the success that Sol Ruka's had over the past few months. So, yeah, who knows what JC will do from this, continue this reign. But for Kendall, I'm really interested to see. I'm guessing we'll kind of see her probably feud more with Fallon Henley instead now to kind of keep her in that same realm, but a little bit different for now. But yeah, sucks for Kendall. Wish she won this match, but JC continue this reign isn't the worst.
Yeah, it was definitely a really good match, and this will, spoiler alert, will be my favorite match of the night. I really did enjoy this one. But the big takeaway from that match for me, at least, was JC Jane just looked like a star. She is definitely ready for that main roster. I don't really know why she won. Maybe they have some kind of reason behind it that we'll see in the future. But I do feel like she probably should have lost to Kendall, and I also feel like she should be on that main roster immediately. To our next match, and that is the Thea Hale Open Challenge, where we see all the women sort of rush to the ring. Tatum Paxley comes out with a chainsaw, sort of scares everyone else to the side, and it looks like she's just about to make it, but Izzy Dame sneaks in from behind and gets there first, so she is the person who will go against Thea Hale for the North American Champion. And it is a really quick match. She is injured, of course, after the attack from Blake Monroe. After she does hit the Dame over from the top rope, and Izzy Dame is your new North American Champion.
Yeah, I'm very surprised with how everything kind of played out with this North American Champion scene tonight. Obviously, we kind of thought it would be Blake winning the championship, but that gets canceled. And then we see this happen where we kind of thought Izzy Dame would have a, that was her night done in the last match, but she comes back here, it gets the win to kind of reignite the feud, I guess, as well. So it looks like the Tatum and her will kind of continue it, probably at the next show. I don't know what it will be, probably Battleground, I believe. But yeah, interesting to see that Izzy does win it. I did predict, and I think our NXT predictions, that I do think she'll win some type of gold. She gets it here. I'm not too impressed by how it kind of came about, but I do like that she is getting this opportunity now. And yeah, who knows what Thea Hale does now. Obviously, I'm sure she'll want her a rematch and kind of really prove herself. But yeah, it feels weird that we have a champion that we weren't supposed to have a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it does feel sort of weird that she won the match in the way that she did, especially with the whole Tatum Paxley thing where they baited the crowd with Tatum Paxley. So that leads me to believe that there will be another match between the two, of course, which I would say I'm excited for, because like I said, I do think there's a better match between these two than the three that we already seen. But it doesn't necessarily mean I want to see it now. I think maybe a little bit later on we could revisit that feud or something. But it doesn't look like we'll get it sooner rather than later. We will go on to our main event, and we see Leon Slater and Obafemi. Main event, New Year's Evil, and Obafemi starts it off with a huge chop to Leon, and it made a loud impact. The crowd really popped for that, and they were like, damn, this man definitely got some power, especially the way Leon sold it, where he bounced off the mat and he was kind of holding his chest, and his facial expressions during that as well. But pretty much the whole match we see Leon Slater working the legs of Obafemi, and there's a moment where Oba was going for a knee to Leon while he was in the corner on the outside of the ring, but he does move and his knee hits the ring post, and that gave Leon the advantage. He throws Oba into the steps and also does the Montez Ford spot where he goes over the top turnbuckle to the outside of the ring. Really cool spot, and especially when he does it, because he's sort of like Javon Ways, like he says, bouncy, and so he just kind of goes flying, maybe even more so than Montez Ford does. He also does a huge body slam to Obafemi, and obviously that's huge for him because he's just such a little guy, and for him to do that to a man as big as Obafemi, that's like, it did look really good on camera, and it was very impressive. But he does go for the 450 Swanton, but unfortunately Oba gets the knees up, goes for the fall for grace, and retains the world title.
Yeah, this match I do really enjoy just because of how simple the story was, but it was executed very perfectly, I think. Just Obafemi kind of dominating that, he has the power advantage, he has that strength advantage, but what's going to have Leon to be able to make this match his is going to be kind of chopping him down, working the leg, kind of targeting a limb, and that's going to be the way to get to the top. But in the end, Obafemi kind of continues to show how strong he truly is. You can't fully knock this man down, and yeah, he always gets back up, and he can hit you with some big moves kind of out of nowhere. So yeah, for a guy to pull those types of moves off is obviously so impressive. But yeah, Obafemi retaining does kind of suck just because I did feel like this was a good moment for Leon to do it and send Obafemi to the main roster. But yeah, I don't know where Leon goes from here. I guess we'll kind of see him probably more in TNA now, kind of with their kind of starting off their TV show this upcoming week. So yeah, it should be interesting to see what happens next.
Before the show is over, we see the camera cut to Ava, and she has the big group of people, and it's kind of the underused NXT people as well as the Evolve people, some WWID people, and everyone such of that nature in the kind of back room there. And she tells them this is the year of opportunity. But before she kind of finish her statement, we see Robert Stone come in and she warns Ava of what did Oba just do. She's like, what are you talking about? She runs to the camera and we see that Oba Femi has left the arena but also left the title in the middle of the ring. So that obviously leads everyone to believe he will be on that main roster very soon. But that's not it, because we see Tony D'Angelo kind of lurking in the background alongside the fans, and he's looking at that title very closely.
Tony D kind of feels like he'll be the next champion now, with Leon gone, Javon gone, Oba Femi potentially gone now. I feel like there's not too many guys left besides him and Ricky, who also cut a promo in the start of the show, so we'll kind of see what happens up there. I feel like that'll probably be your stand and deliver match potentially, but yeah, I feel like I don't mind this way of calling up Oba Femi. Yeah, you know, he's a guy who's been very dominant ever since he's come into NXT, so to come in dominant, walk out dominant, I do like that kind of story for him. It gives him a lot of momentum going in to the main roster into Rumble season, which I think is a real possibility for him to end up winning the Rumble. I think that's a real possibility.
Not only Oba Femi, but we also see Ava mention Jordan Grace, Javon Evans, and Trick Williams are all officially part of the main roster now. Earlier in the night, we've seen Jordan Grace kind of say she hasn't fully decided on if she was going to sign to SmackDown or not, but by the end of the show, Ava does mention that, so she does look like she has made that decision. She will be on SmackDown potentially this Friday, but also maybe Blake Monroe goes to the main roster. There's a lot of big call-ups that seem to be happening very soon, as well as people like JC Jane, who's been around for a long time, so maybe she'll get called up. That does wrap up our show, and it was a very good show, but any last-minute thoughts of call-ups that happened, the title change, or anything of that nature?
Yeah, pretty much I just really like the way this show was kind of set, like I said earlier. It's the kind of setting up what this year will mean for a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier. Call-ups are going to be happening, a lot of spots are going to be open now, so it's going to be interesting to who takes up those spots, who will be the next world champion, because we can't keep running Tony D and Ricky Saints for the entire year. Somebody else is going to have to step up, so that should be a really fun story to see who kind of steps up to the moment and who will be the next Oba Femi in NXT, who will be the next Javon Evans, and yeah, who will take those spots. But yeah, overall solid night, and feels like a very good progressive week in the NXT world.
Yeah, my only gripe from the show was honestly probably some of the winners from the matches. I probably would have booked some different winners, but I think it played out great. The matches were good, could have been better. We'll see you guys in the next one. We appreciate you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you soon.